It's Mel. It is that time again. Time to open a couple of boxes from the basement and do a Basement Box Books unboxing, haul, and unhaul. I have hundreds of books in the basement that have been in the basement for going on 8 or 9 years. Some of them have been in boxes before that, so we're going through box by box and we're getting rid of as many books as we can. Either books are getting unhauled or they are going back in the basement if there's something that I want to read but doesn't go on my immediate TBR. They are going on my TBR sometimes, but hopefully not too much because I have way too many books on my TBR. And some of them are going on shelves that are for collections like comics or vintage sci-fi or Golden Age mystery. So some books do end up on those shelves. Some books also end up on my red shelf because they are actually books that I've read before. Today I have 2 boxes, box number 14, box number 15. I think this is episode number 6. I've been making these videos kind of in close succession, but you will be seeing them spread out throughout the year. So let's see what our boxes hold. I have 2 good size boxes today. The first book that I see is a Heinlein Trio, and this book has The Puppet Master's Double Star, and The Door into Summer. It's funny because I was going through my want to read list on Goodreads and I saw The Door into Summer on there, and I had a feeling that I probably did have it. So I'm keeping all Robert A. Heinlein books. I've only read one Robert A. Heinlein book, but I really, really liked it, and he is a classic sci-fi, vintage sci-fi author that I know I will definitely be reading more of, especially ones that were marked on my want to read list. So although I'm keeping this, I don't need to keep them all on my physical TBR. I already have some Heinlein on my physical TBR, so this one will be going back in the basement. The next book I see is Robert Silverberg, The Alien Years, his epic masterpiece. This is a Hugo and Nebula Award winner. I've never heard of this one. This one sounds kind of interesting, about like alien invasion. I'm gonna keep that one and put it back in the basement. I have a feeling these might all be vintage sci-fi. I've gotten a lot of vintage sci-fi from my father over the years. This is another Robert Silverberg, The World Inside. A very cool cover. It reminds me of like MC Escher or something. Utopia, we could keep that one. Oh, here's another Robert Silverberg with a little cheeky cover there. Thorns. That one seems less interesting to me. I think I'll put that one in the unhaul pile. Here's Tower of Glass by Robert Silverberg. Apparently these are all going to be Robert Silverberg books in this box. This is about like android equality. That sounds kind of interesting. Put that back in the basement. Here is Clifford M. Seamack, They Walked Like Men. Another great vintage cover. I like these old vintage covers that are like matte. Seems a little bit surrealist, a little bit strange. Keep that one. Here's another Clifford D. Seamack, Way Station. Another great vintage cover. This one sounds cool. Here's Where the Evil Dwells, also by Clifford D. Seamack. Seems like more like sci-fi fantasy, so I'm not as interested in this one. I think I'll put this one in the unhaul pile. It's really hard for me to unhaul these vintage sci-fis. I love them so much and I want them to go to good homes and I want people to enjoy them and get something out of them. And I feel like some of them are probably not even in print anymore. But that being said, I can't keep every vintage sci-fi that I have, so I have to make like some choices. Another Clifford B. Seamack. This is Highway of Eternity. This seems like a mystery, so maybe we'll keep that one. Shakespeare's Planet, I'm just going to keep out of title alone. Project Pope, I probably can get rid of. Another Seamack. These seem to be interesting because they're like very much about like androids and robots and sentient non-living beings and religion. So I think that those are all probably pretty interesting, but I don't need to keep them all. Here's another Seamack, The Werewolf Principle. Sounds kind of interesting. We'll keep that one. Yeah, these are all going to be vintage sci-fi, which are both hard and easy. Like, I want to keep them all, but I can't keep them all, so I just have to look at every single one. These seem to be all Seamack novels. Let's see if the rest of them are. Yeah, so maybe my dad got rid of all his Clifford D. Seamack. So let's go through these really quick. We have A Choice of Gods, Great cover. Cemetery World. Enchanted Pilgrimage. Time is the Simplest Thing. A Heritage of Stars. Our Children's Children. And Special Deliverance. So I will take a look at these real quick and decide which ones I'm keeping and which ones I am getting rid of. So I think I'm only going to keep 3 of those, and the rest I'm going to get rid of, and that was the, oh no, there's, oh my god, I thought there was more. Oh, there's more Robert Silverberg. There were 3 more books in there. This is more Robert Silverberg and 33 1/3 Greatest Hits. So this one's interesting. 33 1/3 Greatest Hits. I used to really like the 33 1/3 books. They're all short little informational books about music, about records, and this one has the Smiths, Led Zeppelin, James Brown, and the Replacements. Colin Malloy on the Replacements. So I think I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to put it back in the basement. And let's look at Madhapur Chronicles, A Time of Changes. What a fantastic cover. Amazing. This has a note from my dad in it. It says 22nd February 1986. I think I can get rid of that one. And I think I can get rid of this one too. Okay, that was actually all that was in this box. So, box number 14 had 22 books in it. Hey, stop it. We are unhauling 9 of those books, and we are keeping but putting back in the basement 11. Wait, 11? 13. We're keeping but putting in the basement 13. Let's start on the next box. The first book that I see is Come As You Are, The Story of Nirvana by Michael Azerrad. I've read another book by him that I really, really liked, and I do like Nirvana. I think I would keep this one. This is like a tough one because I am of the Nirvana generation, and I was impacted by Kurt Cobain's death and everything like that, so like I don't know if I'd really want to read this, but I feel like it needs to be kept for nostalgia's sake, so I will keep it, but I will put it in the basement. And maybe I will read it one day. I do love books about music and books about bands. This is Eddie Campbell, The Fate of the Artist. On the inside it says, an autobiographical novel with typographical anomalies in which the author does not appear as himself. So this is like a comic, sort of. It has various mixed media. It is kind of interesting. Comics I've been keeping and putting on my comic shelf, so I think we can do that with that one. And then I think at the end of this project, or when I need to actually find space on my comic shelf, I might go through my comics and see if I can get rid of some of those. Mammal Volume 2 is a literary comic magazine. I'll keep that and put it on my comic shelf. A Walking Tour of the Shambles by Gene Wolfe and Neil Gaiman. Little Walks for Sightseers. I don't really know what this is. It's interesting. It's Neil Gaiman. I will keep it, but I can definitely put it back in the basement. Oh, interesting. Here is The Sisters Grimm by Michael Buckley. This is a young adult / middle grade novel. I've actually been interested in reading this, but since I have not been reading any young adult novels, I think this is one that I can get rid of. I can unhaul, and then if I ever really wanted to get it again, I'm sure I could, but like I don't think I'll need to get it again. Here's a Don DeLillo book. I have so many Don DeLillo books for some reason. I only read my first Don DeLillo in 2023 and I really didn't like it, so I've been unhauling Don DeLillo books. The next book is Blood and Guts, A Short History of Medicine by Roy Porter. This is a nonfiction about disease and medicine. I don't think I'll ever end up reading this. We have The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I think I tried to read this when I first got it and I didn't love it, or I couldn't get into it, but I think I would keep this now because this is one that I'm sure if I want to go through all of Neil Gaiman's backlist, I will want. It has a bookmark from Vashon Bookshop, new and used, Vashon, Washington. So I probably got this used. We'll keep that. We'll put it in the basement. This is hard to read. It says 1+1 Neil Shafter and Daniel Kroll. It's a comic book. Aileen by Louis Throndheim. This looks so cute, but kind of gross, but cute. Great colors. Definitely keeping that one out. This is autobiographic. This seems to be an anthology of comics. And if I had to guess, they're all autobiographical. Oh, this is a cool copy of A.A. Milne's Now We Are Six. Decorations by Ernest H. Shepard. Definitely keeping that. I think I'm going to put that on the TBR. Vintage paperbacks. I love them. Here is The Death of Ivan Ilyich. This is supposed to be amazing. Great vintage copy. Irving. Oh, he's like obsessed with getting on my red shelf. Get down from there. Get down. Get down. No, you can't have that. Stop. Stop it. You are being a bad boy. You're driving me nuts. You cannot go up there. Would you sit down and relax, please? Sit down and relax. Yes, you can. You can just relax. Why don't you just relax and be a good boy? You don't have to be a bad boy. You could be a good boy. You could choose to be a good boy. The Death of Ivan Ilyich. I've heard only good things about this. As I've said many times, I'm not much of a Russian reader, but I think I will keep this and put it in the basement. Speaking of 33 1/3, here are two 33 1/3. Here is Harvest and American Recordings. These are by Sam Inglis and Tony Tost, respectively. I think I've read the Harvest one, but I'll keep both of these, put them in the basement, and if I decide I want to read them, I can. I think I have a couple 33 1/3 on my red shelf already. This is Welcome to the Land of Cannibalistic Horses by A.P. Smith and illustrated by Mike Force. So I knew Mike Force when I was in Brooklyn. I have no idea if this is a novel or I don't know what kind of book this is. We'll keep it, we'll put it back in the basement because it's not really a comic, even though it has illustrations. Another Neil Gaiman book. This is Fragile Things, Short Fictions and Wonders. Again, I like Neil Gaiman. I love Good Omens, and I enjoy American Gods. I read Stardust. I've read a couple of other books by him. He's not like my favorite author of all time, but I enjoy his work enough to keep anything that I have. And speaking of which, here is the Graveyard book. I don't know why these are kind of organized, but that's cool. And I will keep it and put it on the TBR. Put it back in the basement. Another comic. I love the way that this one is like all the same panels. This is a book, Blade Runner by Scott Buchman. Scott Buckatman. This is like a book about the movie Blade Runner. Interesting. I don't think that one's mine. I think that one's actually my husband's, but we'll keep it. We'll put it back in the basement. Here is Seasonal Sampler, 2008 from Top Shelf. Again, comic anthology. Wow. This is a weird one to find in there. This is a copy of Sense and Sensibility. When was this copy published? Weird, it doesn't have the publication information. I am never going to read Sense and Sensibility. This is a nice copy, very pretty, but I can unhaul that. Never say never, but I'm never going to read it. Here's a Philip Jose Farmer. This is Iron Castle. It is Philip Jose Farmer and J.H. Roseny. So I'm keeping all my Philip Jose Farmers. I've put some of them on the TBR, but this one I'm going to put back in the basement. Here's Thud by Terry Pratchett. I think this is in the Discworld. The only Discworld that I've read is the Mort mini series, encapsulated series from the Discworld books. I've never read Going Postal, which is the first one. I do love Good Omens. I don't think I need to keep this because if I do end up reading the Discworld books, I'll probably read them in order and I'll probably get them as I go or read them from the library. I don't necessarily need to own this one, so I'm going to unhaul it. Every once in a while we find these little books that are all written in Japanese. I keep them. They're more like oddities or interesting things since I can't actually read them. They're more like decoration, but I like to have them and they're cool. Alright, so a few more books from this one. Here's another Japanese book. This is a manga. So it is all written in Japanese, but we'll put it on the comic shelf anyway. Here is Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Islands, The Lonely Planet. Have I ever been to Nova Scotia? No. Would I like to go to Nova Scotia? Yes. Do I need to keep this guidebook? I think I do have a small collection of guidebooks somewhere on my shelf. So I think I'll keep this and put it on my red shelf. Next we have a great copy of The Swiss Family Robinson. I've never read The Swiss Family Robinson. There is a unsent letter in this book. Whether that means I decided not to send it or I forgot about it and put this book away, but I'm going to keep this and put it in the basement. Here we have 2,000 Years of the Antichrist, Human Fascination with Evil by Bernard McGinn. I do not need to keep this book. That will be an unhaul. And then we have The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. I don't think these last two books were mine. I think they were probably my husband's. Also not going to keep that. Okay, so from box number 15. Box number 15 also had 22 books in it. We're putting one in a guidebook section. We are putting one on the TBR. We are putting back in the basement the majority of the books with 11. And we are unhauling 7. So those were 2 more from my basement. We're getting close to the 500 books mark, and I don't think we're even halfway through the boxes down there. So I definitely was right that there's more than 500 books down there. I will continue to do this and continue to open boxes until we are all through all the boxes. If you noticed any of the books that I mentioned here that you think I should prioritize or that you want to talk about, definitely leave those comments down below. And thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.